following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop, and you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation. So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob Francois. Rad Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Johnny Petraglia. Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Joining us is the other guy with a mask. It's Dr. Ocho.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference from the fraud that you are right now to the real thing that I am right now. You fraud, you menacing fraud. What are you doing? You're a disgrace to the show.
Also joining us is the third man of the team.
Are you trying to imitate you, by the way?
Yes.
You're not doing a very good job. You should imitate you better. Go for it. Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Rad Rob, me. Look at me, Rad Rob Francois, and I got Johnny P. Let's go, buddy. There you go.
I could do the no-cho.
Look at the guns!
Hey, look at the guns!
Never heard of it.
Also joining us is the third man of the team. He is the man with the name on the marquee. He is number 7 in your programs. He is number 1 in your hearts. The sexiest man in the world. How do you fucking breathe in this thing? Jesus Christ.
Well, you can't breathe in a hyperbaric chamber, so
That's
what's
fair.
the difference?
Johnny Petraglia Jr. What up, JP?
You got to say you got me there too, Rad Rob. Digging the mask, bro. Looking good.
Appreciate it.
It's good. It's good to see you guys.
Trying to bring
and
some
everybody
flavor
in
to
the
show.
chat.
Ocho, I got a question for you. Are you flexing your pecs?
No.
It's hard to see in this fucking thing. My glasses are getting fogged up.
They flex on their own.
Anyways, all right. Forget that. Johnny,
great question, buddy. Great way to start the show.
No,
now
sure.
we're cooking. Now we're cooking with gas.
I'm off my game. This whole fucking thing just throws me off. Anyway, and I can't get it off. It's like fucking stuck in my face.
It looks like you basically, this is Rob's routine at the end of the night. He has to go to bed early and he puts this mask. This is a topical. This isn't anything he slips over his face. This is to get the pores, open and to eliminate the hairs that come out of your nose and whatnot. So this is a nightly routine for Rob. He's got to go to bed early because he has his Bible study in the morning.
He's such a dick.
Oh well, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Other than I've never seen anybody make a mask look more uncomfortable than Rob does.
It looks like the mask
right
is
now.
going to peel. That's what I'm saying. It looks like he's going to peel it off his face like it was freaking, like he's at the spa.
I don't know how to get it off, so we're gonna have some issues later on.
He's going to take a pair of scissors and just cut up the middle.
I can't wait.
And it's still going to stick. Great
Let's
show.
talk about the USB Senior Masters this past week and weekend. Our good friend of the show, Troy Lint, had a very valiant showing.
Real
Johnny,
quick, Doyle Irons is right on the money with this. Somebody put his comment up. He's absolutely right.
Doyle knows a thing or two about wrestling.
He says, fuck it to 10 pin, break back, make him humble. R.I.P.
R.I.P. I was just going to say.
R.I.P.
Damn
to the Iron
All
Sheik. Troy Lint is a beast. He did not win,
Yeah.
but he bowled his ass off. Fucking Sperone. I swear to God, dude.
You know, I
No,
almost
there's
said
another
I almost
one.
said it
No,
earlier.
look at what Roger means.
I was looking at Rogers.
That's what I was.
What's up, Jeff?
Happy birthday, Nicole.
Happy birthday, Nicole. And Roger is spot on.
Amazing.
Great show,
Anyways,
boys.
I already saw Troy's in the chat, but yeah. So for those of you who tuned in before the conclusion of the Masters, my little banner said that Troy was going to win the Masters, and damn man, I really thought he was going to.
What did he take? Third? I mean, like that's kind of pretty damn close. Fourth? I forget which one.
Troy wound up finishing third. Yes, third. And just an incredible performance. Came out the first game of the show and bowled 289. And then that second game, unfortunately, I mean, got up in the 10th frame, needed all 3 hits in the 10th to tie Lenny Borish at 239. And he got up in the 10th and he threw a messenger in front of the 7-pin. And, you know, I always look at like the oh fuck moment first. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, I can't imagine either Lenny or JJ, because they were starting to transition a little bit harder than they did all week on the right side of the lane, especially when JJ popped in. And to watch, I think he went to go take the mask off. I think he get
there's going to be an hour and a half. You're going to hear screaming, grunting, and the jaws of life probably.
I'm just trying to take a drink. That's what Ocho does.
But you almost knew that the title match was going to be a 201-90 game at that point. So it's sad, because I truly believe that if Troy gets past that match, you know, who's to say anybody can beat anybody 2 consecutive times for the title? But either way, long story short, I got to spend my entire Saturday there. I was on my way to the show on Sunday and blew a fucking tire and didn't make it there. So
it's a family show. We don't talk like that.
Apologize to Troy for that.
You can't say tire anymore.
Hey, but even during match play, he was like shooting 790s to people's 620s. Or like the guy was like years ahead of everybody. It looked like just the way he matched up. It was when I watched the scores, I was like, "Holy Jesus, this doesn't even look right."
Yeah, there was one that, you know, he opened 760 and 830 against Chris Keene. Right. So he turns day one averaging 270, and day two was bowling Dan Peters, Jake Peters' uncle, and a good friend of mine. We bowl league together out here, and whatever it was, Dan edged him out 630 to 610, and then Troy turns around and continues to shoot 700 every set there on out. So, but it was awesome to go and support somebody who's like to that level. Like, it's not like watching my dad. These last 10, 15 years of watching my dad has actually gotten a little bit more difficult to watch, because I'm watching out more for his health and finishing the tournament rather
what
than
it once was compared to what it is now, for sure.
But yeah, between Troy and another good friend and former PBA champion and PBA champion Andy Nyer coming in the top 12 as well. Those were two really, really fun eggs and good friends to watch. Basically, almost get there, both of them. And
but just the prediction on your part, man. I mean, you were throwing freaking saucers, saying like this guy's gonna win it, and like, you know, we had nothing to go by, and then sure enough, he's lights out. So whether you knew something we didn't, or he knew something and told you, who knows? We're not going to speculate. But damn,
I know a couple things, and one of the reasons why I picked Troy, other than the fact that anybody who's bowling with a shitload of confidence continues to bowl well when
a hot hand.
On it. Exactly. So Troy's already been successful out on the senior tour in the recent years or so. But the other things that I always take into account is, first off, what are the successful lefties doing at the national level? And it's virtually the same thing. The problem is, on the senior tour, there's not a lot of lefties that can do what, say, a Jacob or a Jesper do on the regular tour. But on the senior tour, Troy is perfectly capable of average to slightly above average ball speed, super duper rev rate. He's really good at seeing it up lane. He's really good at circling the fronts, and he's really good at controlling ball motion, because he's not only got purple hammers like everybody else does to control the lanes now, but he's got good resin pieces behind it in case those balls goes away. And we saw him use Kudas this week. We saw him use, balls, symmetrical solids, and even some ASIM a little bit here and there, just to blend out the patterns a little bit. But his game is so good, and his athleticism at the age of 50 is so high that he's still able to do things that other left-handers can't, including guys like Jason Couch, even before he came back from his injury. So you incorporate those things with the fact that any AMF lane surface, whether it be HPL, SPL, SPL new version, old version, whatever it is, that lane bed is not only a high scoring lane bed, but the transition on those lanes beds are way different than, say, a pro lane. It's a softer lane cover. I mean, the lanes themselves are softer. They're sandwich style as opposed to solid phenolic. So what happens is the memory gets embedded into those lanes and almost creates a trough similar to the lacquer days. So left-handers in that building have typically had success, especially if they're in the right zone of the lane or they possess either good ball speed or slightly above average rev rate and or speed, or a combination of the two of those things. So already on the left, if the left is good, you're already in trouble because we're going to maul you the whole week. But if the left is good and they don't change much at all on SPL, or if anything, all they do is tighten up down lane and creates even more holds. So the high rev guys have even more of a chance to take over. And all those elements, I kind of foresaw Troy making it as far as he did. And sure enough, at the conclusion of the tournament, I think 20, even though we only saw one lefty on the top 5, I believe 20 of the guys in the field of 64 were actually left-handed. So it all kind of held true. And then from there, it's a matter of who's got the, like we said, who's got the hot hand, who's got the best entry angle to the pocket, and who's bowling with the most confidence. Boy, was that a fucking mouthful.
Fucking A, man.
Are you guys waiting for me to be
I didn't
done?
know they
No,
used,
no.
I didn't know they used CLR on the bowling alley lanes. Is that what it was?
CLR instead. Anyway, but finishing my thoughts on the Masters, not only was it awesome to watch those guys I mentioned, but how about kudos to actually the whole top 5 was just a classy top 5 to begin with. You had Brian Leclerc, seasoned tour veteran, out there bowling against Brad Angelo, 2 really, really classy, good guys in match 1. Obviously, we know Troy's a class act. And then Lenny Borsch, Team USA, just an absolute animal on the lanes. And then the guy who nobody has ever said a bad thing about, and that's John Janowitz. And I'm assuming, John, I actually shook your hand at the tournament, but I want to say it again here on the show. It was not only impressive to watch you all week, but nobody's more deserving of this than you. For anybody that doesn't know John Janowitz, this adds to his already impressive resume that the PBA level fans may not understand or know. But John won the first regional he entered, and now John wins the first senior event that he enters. He's a USBC champion, Team USA member for over a decade, Kegel master. I mean, does everything down at the Kegel facility, and it was just absolutely awesome to watch him take down that crown. It was a shame to watch Lenny lose because I always root for Lenny as well. But just all in all, just a really, really well-run event, really well-organized. And the senior guys are so much fun to hang around because they're just happy to be there, out there doing what they love. It's a little bit different than the cutthroat vibe of the PBA tour. You know what I mean, Rob?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And like you said last week, a lot of them are just guys that you kind of grew up watching that you can't believe. Like Jason Couch is already in the the PBA senior tour. It's like it's amazing. Like what? Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
Try to
Oh wait, yeah.
God, sorry, I was responding to
I know.
it.
I want to.
He also he lost to Marvin one time, by the way. That guy. Nice run, Tino.
I'm lost.
Marvin Hidalgo Mora.
Tino had 1 strike, and then he threw a 10, like a ring of 10, and Chris goes, nice run, Tino. Good job, buddy.
Chad, I'll hit you up when we're done. Sounds good. It may be a little bit later because I gotta clock back in after this.
He's a busy guy, Chad. We're doing a show here, damn it.
You sent us a screenshot in our private group about the low averages and low scores for the PWBA PTQ. What's up with that?
I don't know. I finally saw the photo of the pattern that they're using for the event, and it's an inverted pattern. It actually looks almost like a funnel when you look at it, which I'm assuming if it's a pattern we've never seen.
So there's no head oil at all, you mean? Or like
there is, but it goes backwards, whereas a lane pattern usually tapers in as you go further away from the foul line.
Christmas tree kind of almost, right? Like as you
so flip the Christmas tree upside down, but make it a very, very flat, like 1.3 to 1 ratio. So there's almost like this little trough that goes this way, almost like a pill bottle, just like that you would shoot the pills out of on a pool table or like whatever that.
The funnel thing, right? Where everything. I got you.
Yeah, it looks like that, and it almost seems like the only way to get the ball to the hole is to get the ball started, say around between 18 to 23, but pretend that 15 or 16 is like you can't throw it to 14 because it almost looks like it's going to be.
Wouldn't that have to go for a lefty also then, since it's so tapered down in the
same thing either way you look at it
yeah.
from either side of the lane? But what I was just so upset about was I looked at it and I'm trying to pull it up right now.
It sounds like setting them up to fail almost. Not that it's challenging, because it's already challenging enough with the patterns they have, but like you're
exactly right.
What?
And here's the thing, Rob. There's one thing if the Robin and Oach. There's one thing if the scores are low. I don't mind if the scores are low. If it takes, I'll give you an example. I don't even have to give you an example. Let me just read this to you. This is the U.S. Women's Open. This is one of their top 3 biggest events of the year, and they're very, very, very shortened season. They don't have nearly the amount of events they're supposed to have. But 8-game qualifier PTQ to get into the main field of the U.S. Open. 40 women, 40, competed in the PTQ. 31 of those women made it into the U.S. Open. So that's already an 86 percentile advance. So it's already like basically you're thinking at this point, okay, if 31 out of 40 girls make it, the odds are if I average 190, I'm
you're
a
in.
good chance
You're
of making it, right? The cut line for 8 games was minus 209. 1391 was the total pinfall, which equates to a 173.88 average. That's what it took to make it into the Women's U.S. Open. The tournament leader, the PTQ leader, Juliana Franco, shot plus 109. She averaged 213 for the PTQ. The girl in second went minus 7.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
40 women, 1 girl went plus. And after the Haley Dan in second place had minus 7, then it drops to 33 under, 50 under, 70 under, 75 under, and then 100 under. The girl who qualified 10th out of the PTQ averaged 187. These are some of the lowest, most absurd numbers I've ever seen at a bowling tournament in any capacity, at any level, at any point in the tournament. I have never, ever seen one person go plus at a PBA national tour stop. And it's disheartening.
Remember
to
when
me.
Tiger won the U.S. Open, not the U.S. Open, the Pebble Beach by I think it was a major, and he was like the only guy under par. Ernie Els took second. He was like minus 3. Ernie Els took second at plus 14, something like that. And again, that was a testament of Tiger. It was windy conditions. It had nothing to do with anything that the grounds crew did, but I'm only trying to relate it in the fact that plus the big discrepancy in between each. Usually you miss a 10 pin and you lose 5 spots. It sounds like minus 40 was 4th, minus 90 was 5th, and that's a huge discrepancy. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. And I'm not even so much concerned with the 31st qualifying number because. Okay, fine. If you take 31 people and the person that qualifies 31st averages 185,
they still need the bowlers.
That's all fine and dandy. But usually the person in 15th, 13th, 18th are plus.
Yeah, right.
The fact that there was only one person who I've never heard of plus, and 4 or 5 women that I've either bowled with or know from past bowling that I know are talented players in there. And that's like not knocking on the door to shoot even or shoot par. That's like knocking on the door to average 50 pins lower than you average every day of your adult bowling career. I want to know what's going through their minds as they're warming up and practicing on this shit.
Because now seriously, pick their brain a little bit and be like, what did go on there? That's that'd be a fun little segment. Exactly. Not to rip on anybody, since you got a gallery walking behind you and everything.
It's dinner time. I decided I wanted to do the show from downstairs tonight. So
she is cooking for you, just like I said. I know it.
Oh, no, they're just saying hi. She says hi.
I don't want to be that guy, Johnny, but I mean, with the recent controversies with the women's and the lane oiling, is this, I don't know, is somebody fucking with them, like just making a difficult pattern? Or
I didn't even think of that. That's a really, really great point.
Is it a legit pattern?
It is a legit pattern there. I don't have the image of it here. I'm sure we can find it at somewhere, but I don't
like trying to make them look weak.
I don't
you know
want
what I mean? Like after all
Go ahead. Sorry.
Like trying to make him look weak after all the bullshit and complaining and stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, I don't want to
this is
say
why.
that anybody would deliberately go out and do that, but Jesus Christ, it certainly seems like they're trying. Like, how many different ways from Sunday? Like, and I get it. The U.S. Open is supposed to be hard. I'm not in any way saying that 30 people should have gone out and averaged 220, but I'm saying you should have had more than one person average over 200. The tournament leader averaged 213.
Yeah.
That's a clean game with two doubles. Actually, a clean game with two doubles is a 215 average. It means the tournament leader out-averaged the field out-averaged the second best bowler in the field by over 110 pins a game, averaging a game with 4 to 5 strikes a game.
Yeah.
That's where I was
unheard of.
going with it too. So it's like, but I mean, that's not something anybody can control either, because the cut line is still the cut line. They have the number of field, but it was let's see what Stephanie just said. She just wrote something here.
Yeah, and again, this goes back.
It
to
is an
what
open too. That's another thing. It's an open, so she's
That's
right.
fine.
Too.
This proves my point right here. The other side of the coin is, yes, they don't get a chance to bowl professionally often. I totally get that. But I can go find 40 people that don't bowl professionally, and 99 out of 100 times we go bowl on any pattern, I promise you that 39 out of 40 of them are not going to go minus.
They'll go plus.
That's
plus something, but just plus.
Right. And that's the other side of the coin also, is if you know you're taking 31 out of 40 women, Jesus Christ, why the hell are you going to make them absolutely fucking impossible?
Right.
The true test will be to see what the scores look like tomorrow. Because let's say the main field has 170 bowlers. Based off these odds, you're going to say that in the first round of qualifying is going to be 131 girls under.
Right.
That's not going to happen, obviously. Like Stephanie said, the talent is back in the field and everything's all fine and dandy in that respect. But they are certainly going to be low scoring if they are anything like what they put out for this PTQ. It's crazy.
I mean, shouldn't they at least be consistent with the pattern? If that's indeed what they put out for the PTQ, that should be for the main squad.
Yeah, and then they do. They don't just alter patterns for no reason. I'm just my only argument here is, like, if I want to go watch a tennis match and I'm going to go watch 40 girls in the PTQ trying to get into the main field for Wimbledon, they're not going to stand and serve the ball into the net and double fault until the match is finally over. Because
but not even that though. Not even that, because that's them sucking. No, that's them sucking. It's as if when they go to play on grass, that there's literally mud puddles in the grass that's affecting the ball bouncing up or something like that. Because
there you go.
You're talking topography rather than talent.
Here's a great example.
That's
as good of a fielder as I was in baseball growing up,
hell of a fielder.
I would make an error here and there, and mainly not from an Olay, but from a bad hop. There would be a rock, or the ground, the grass wasn't completely flat, the lip of the dirt. Something would alter the ball's intended direction.
We didn't play on the best field conditions growing up.
Well,
let's just say that's
the reason why Cal Ripken could make it through the 1993 season with only 3 errors in 162 completed games, aside from his talent and his legendary awesomeness in the sport of baseball. Cal Ripken Jr. got to play on a perfectly flat pool table surface for at least 95 games that season. And every other stadium he went to, he had the exact same thing. So if you immediately go and tell all these girls, okay, ladies, you've been bowling on these same, or guys, you've been bowling on these same 25 patterns for the last 2 years. By the way, this year at the U.S. Open, we're going to introduce this upside-down milk bottle fucking pattern.
We're testing a tornado pattern.
1.3 to 1, and you know what we're going to do is we're going to test it out on the 40 guinea pigs who only bowl recreationally because it's an open event. Oh, and meanwhile, PWBA, nice fucking job. You got 40 turnouts. Or USBC, I should say. You guys got 40 fucking turnouts for this PTQ anyway. So I could talk about that shit all night.
But that's just another example of the elements being too much of a factor in
bowling.
Whether it's it is damning to it. It really is. I mean, unfortunately, because there's still the amateur that goes on the house shot and says, "Wow, why do they suck so bad?" They don't suck. Again, you go to the park. The tennis court's the same, the same dimensions. The net's the same height. There might be a little wind, and there's only so many things that can be controlled by the outside stimuli, I guess. Whereas bowling still has that one little stigma. Damn.
By the way, I like Chris's picks. I like both of those selections just based off what we've seen already. You got Liz, who's one of the most accurate players ever. And Missy is really, really obviously accurate, but Missy's got that trick roll where she's like one of the few bowlers that spins it. I don't know if she's a true spinner, but she is certainly not under the ball like the other women are, or the other men are for that matter. She reminds me of like the female equivalent to Robert Lawrence's ball roll. But those are two good picks, Chris. I think for sure.
Who are you thinking for player of the year so far, Johnny?
Well, and that's it's obviously the front runner is Jordan Richard. She is hands down the best female in the world right now, and she has been fantastic for quite some time. There are other women who are at least somewhat in the hunt. I mean, Lindsay Boomershine obviously has won the major already this year in the Queens. She also made the show in Cleveland. So this U.S. Open's kind of a decent dictation of what's going to happen moving forward. I mean, if Lindsay goes out and wins this and pops 2 majors, that kind of trumps Jordan's 3 victories so far. I don't know really so much about the cashes and anything else that's going on, but I've always been impressed watching Jordan bowl. She's been one of my favorite females to watch. I think her game is absolutely pristine. It's beautiful. I think it's perfect efficiency of motion, and I like that she gets a little pissed. I like that she gets pissed at herself. I like that she fuels off getting pissed off of good breaks from her opponents. I genuinely like watching Jordan bowl, and it would be nice to see her win Player of the Year. Obviously, I have a better relationship or a closer relationship with Lindsay. I would love to see Lindsay not only win her first title and major in the same season that she wins also Player of the Year. I think that would be fantastic for her moving into the next decade of her career. Would be awesome.
I know what she's doing isn't really the equivalent of EJ, but I mean, 3 titles already. Who knows how many more? I mean, could she go on a similar type run on the women's side?
Well, first, I actually think it kind of depends on how many events the women actually have to bowl in their schedule. So
that makes sense.
First, I can try and find that since I am on the site. So they already bowled Stockton, Spokane. They bowled the Queens. They did the 3 events which they had in Grand Rapids and in Michigan. So yeah, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is their 8th event of the season. And then after this, we have the PBA, PWBA, Lucy Bono striking out breast cancer mixed doubles, and followed by the PWBA Championship Week in Waterloo. And that completes their season.
Okay, not much left then. I got.
But when you compare numbers, Rob, Jordan's won 3 of 6 events this year.
Yeah, true.
If she wins 4 of 7, that's a pretty fantastic win percentage. Almost, I would think, comparable to EJ's season.
How many majors does the women have? Like 2?
We've got it looks like we've got the U.S. Open. We definitely have the Queens, and then I would assume the PWBA Championship Week is the Tour Championship. So I'm going to say that there's 3.
3. Okay.
And if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me in the chat.
One question, kind of off topic, but still pro bowling related. Why do you think there's so much time between the PBA Tour final for the men and the last tournament? Like it's like a month and a half, 2 months?
I don't know. I'm not out there, so I don't know if they organize it with the guys or with whatever availability at the center they're going to be doing it in is. I know I was talking with Jacob Buttriff this week at the Senior Masters. He was saying it's someplace in like the northwest furthest end of Washington this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly 100% sure.
For those of you who haven't seen, please see our archive show with Jacob Buttriff. He was a wonderful guest, friend of the show, FYI.
Yes,
absolutely. Spitfire in here.
That was awesome.
Very, very cool dude. Now, it's just weird. Like, you got to be pissed for EJ and guys. Like, I mean, EJ's already got Player of the Year locked up, but I mean, a lot of guys were going to lose their momentum heading into the tour finals. I mean, it's just it just seems like a exorbitant amount of time to wait. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but think of it this way: there's not an astronomical amount of money in the tour finals this year, as we just already established, right?
Yes.
So if you take that into account, most of these guys are going to the tour finals because of what they've already done for the season, and they're going there to earn.
This is just a bonus, basically.
Paycheck. This is like when you're on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and you've already answered the $32,000 question and you're out of lifelines.
You're playing with house money, basically.
It's okay to free roll the $64,000 question because you're still going to go home with the 32.
It's a great analogy.
So these guys are, yeah, well, it's the truth. And thank you. These guys are probably gone. Like Marshall went to Montana to hunt. These guys are going to play golf.
Right.
Guys are back at their businesses. And hey, you know what? Now a month later, I'll take a trip to Washington, spend a few days out there and make money while we're there. It's a free trip. And at least you're going there when it's at least a nice time of year. So
It's just,
I don't really 100% know.
Well, yeah,
the
don't they all
particulars.
get a check regardless, or is it?
Yeah,
So I mean,
yeah.
they're already in a plus. So
right.
Yeah, it was the same for the PBA league. It was everybody got paid, but depending on how far they advanced, including the team managers, I obviously know this because of my dad coaching the Styles. But yeah, it's more money.
At least
as
it
you
means something
progress.
still. Like there was an old football highlight when Joey Theismann was trying to pump up his team. I think it was the Super Bowl against the Dolphins in 82, 83-ish. No, they lost. 84 they lost. No, 80. It doesn't matter. Not when they lost to the Raiders. The point was they played the Dolphins, and Joey Theismann's like, and we're going to come out, we're going to do what we do, and we're going to get an awesome ring and win another 35 grand a piece. And like, this is part of his, emotional speech. It meant something back then in the early 80s, even for football players, because they weren't so paid as much. And
the contracts.
It's almost like this is reflective of what it was like for the major sports in the 80s too. Although the bowlers actually did better in the 80s.
40 years later, yeah.
But it's still, so it's like, okay, look, I'm going out there. I'm already gonna make money. The lowest check could be whatever, and I'm already ahead of the game, and that's not a bad thing. And that's actually good for them. Good for them.
Wow, that got really big.
Thank you, Jeff, for supplying this for us. And Rob, I could actually see that.
Buddy.
Holy shit!
Can you put it back up?
Yes, I can. It's the way he wrote it.
Anybody else in the chat know what the format is for the PBA Tour Pride? But here's a prime example. The separation of the guy who finishes 5th compared to 8th is $2,000. The separation of the guy from 8th to 3rd place is $5,000.
Top heavy.
The second, and so the winning amount is not big.
It just is.
It's big for how short and the fact that it's a special event. Yes. Right. But there's, like I said, those guys are going there and like, I get it. 20. I mean, shit, I'm bowling for 20 grand way, way, way harder than I'm bowling for 3 grand. But then again, in the same respect, I'm bowling for money the same way.
Right.
In other words, yes, it's a significantly different amount of money. Yes. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not enough of a significant difference, especially for the guys 3rd through 8th.
No, really, if you took, the guys who lost their exemption or something like that, or, regional guys and put them in that'd be a dogfight. You know what I mean? If you put some great bowlers who are on the regional tour, 4 times a year, and that's it, that'd be, you'd be guys, that's game changing money for them a little bit.
I mean, they could do something like that, like top 4, maybe even just top 3 regional tour players of the year, and combine them with the tour finals and give them a chance to fucking get a PBA title, a major title.
That is a good idea. They've tried variations of it in the past.
The problem is, unless you have a story behind it, it doesn't, because there's still nothing to root for. Like that's why when Schenkel would do he's from Missouri or he's from Montana and he grew up on something, and like there's always a story. You need the fucking story.
Well, you need the story also because you have, especially in our sport, because you outreach to so many people.
Everybody knows what bowling is. It's just, but somebody throwing a rock down a lane doesn't really do much. It's what's behind it. Yeah. And
well, let's have a chronicle. Let's have a chronicle on Chris Prather and how he made it. And we haven't seen him on TV at all this year.
He made a lot of cuts. Yeah. He just didn't make a lot of TV shows. And if you're consistent throughout the season, you're going to be higher up in the points. And like we said, the batch of the guys at the top on the PBA Tour this year was very, very small. Mm-hmm. There was only 15 or 20 guys' faces that you even saw knocking on the door, let alone making the TV show throughout the season.
And then you made the comparison of he finished like 18th or something, and he had 35,000, and the 18th player in golf had like, I don't know, 944,000, something like. I'm exaggerating. I don't even know what it is, but like I know you purposely looked that up maybe about a month ago, just to make that comparison. Just again, finance wise.
Jeff Skier says that the tour finals doesn't count as a title I think
He is correct. He's correct because it's a specialty event that you have to qualify for, and it's not open to an actual field of players.
I gotcha. Okay.
The same way, if you win the PBA league, like the Portland
The Super Slam
Lumberjacks
doesn't count either.
The PBA title.
Yeah, okay.
No.
All right.
Right.
That's my
Who
bad.
comes up with these? Is there a committee that comes up with the team names like the Portland Lumberjacks, or how do they decide which city gets one? Or like, come on,
You got me. That's a great
shit.
question. I don't know. I don't know. But like for instance, the New York City WTT Kingpins. I'm curious what came in second. I still don't know what WTT.
So like a
I
bunch
still don't know what WTT
people
means
came
or
up
why
with
the
this.
fuck it was necessary.
One person came up with it, and then like there must have been maybe 4 others that said, that's it. That's the guy. That's what we want. Like, is there really nothing better than?
I'm assuming the captains.
I didn't even know that.
Like the captains were.
The captain. It could have been the captain. No, there's no way my dad would ever said, you know what? I like to call my team the Styles. Could you guys imagine? My dad would have been like, why don't we call it the Admirals?
Yeah.
Or why don't we call it the
Shylocks,
soldiers or something?
The veterans, the soldiers.
The Shylocks.
My dad would have picked somebody. There's no way my dad would be like, I like the Styles, but I want you to change the S to a Z. Maybe Jamie Williams or the kid from fucking Grey's Anatomy that owned the team. Maybe he picked the Styles. It sounds like something that he would.
There's owners.
There was in the original league, yeah. Like we had owners for each of the teams. Jerome Bettis was he owned either the Pittsburgh Jackrabbits or the Motown Muscle.
So he's a Detroit guy. I know that. I know he's from Detroit. Jerome Bettis would never call something a jackrabbit. He'd call them like the Bulldozers or something like that because he was a fucking. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I don't know where they got the team's name from.
We got to get him on the show.
Jeff might be right with the WTT because the owner of the Kingpins was Billie Jean King, and he's thinking that maybe WTT stood for World Tennis Tour. So I highly doubt that Pete Weber or Carolyn Doran Ballard said, yeah, let's totally call our team the WTT Kingpins.
So
no way.
Billie Jean
Jeff,
King,
you're on point tonight, dude.
But Billie Jean King, though, legend, beat Bobby Riggs, that whole freaking thing and whatnot, won how many Wimbledons, everything. It's fine. I'm good with her. She decided to make her bowling team about tennis.
Right.
Which helps, I guess.
Which means the next time we send her out on the court, we got to put a Brunswick crown
exactly
on
right. Or give her put a purple hammer. Well, she never seen a purple hammer before.
Nike Brunswick.
She definitely never seen a purple hammer before.
You're probably right.
Oh, that's just her. I mean, I don't judge.
Anyway,
I've seen too many, and unfortunately. Locker rooms, man. Locker rooms.
I only got one way to segue from that.
It's now time for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That was certainly ugly. Well, that's my ugly.
Truth is not ugly.
My good. I'll start off since Ocho never does. My dinner was fantastic tonight. I ordered a barbecue chicken pizza from Domino's, and it was outstanding.
By the way, we did a poll beforehand on Facebook that you didn't know about that we said, would Rob's good be about food? 99% said yes. Taryn was the only one that said no. We had 480 votes.
Numbers there.
99% said yes, but also 70% of the time, it works every time, they said Popeyes.
Ocho, what's your good?
I'm not having one.
Johnny, what about you?
My good was fanboying at the Senior Masters this past week. I shift swapped, which is why I got to be out here at 6 o'clock again because I am working today.
Pacific time.
But I shift swapped and I got to go watch a full day of bowling. I got to see a bunch of my idols and friends growing up. I spent an entire Saturday in a bowling alley watching bowling. I haven't done that in quite some time, especially when there's a casino and a bar just up the escalator.
That's awesome.
So that was a lot of fun. I saved the fun shit for after the event was over and got to hang out with, like I said, guys like Andy, Jacob, Troy, and a few other guys. So my good was fanboying and being in the presence of some of my childhood idols and watching a lot of great players make it all the way.
It's obviously less stressful because you're watching it and you don't have to worry about prepping for it or bowling and all that. So it's just like kind of cool to be, like I said, a fan again. and just enjoy the sport that you love watching growing up. I mean, it's cool.
Well, it's less, believe it or not, and actually, I'm curious how many people agree with this. For me,
I'm sorry, it could be more stressful because you're emotionally invested in Troy and a lot of the players, right?
I mean, this is still his tour,
but
too,
not like
technically.
Dad. Like what I was getting at was when I would watch Dad, I would be a fucking head case
Okay.
You're
watching my
biting
dad.
fingernails, you're pacing, you're like a freaking gorilla
I can't
ready to
sit
pounce.
straight when my dad's bowling. But when I bowl, like I get nervous once in a while, but I'm ready. I was relaxed the whole time watching because I don't have an intimate familial vested interest in anybody. Okay. I'm just rooting for my friends to bowl well. So I still feel their pain when like I see that pin go in front of the 7 pin that Troy left.
Right.
I still feel the pain, but I'm not sitting there saying like, fuck, I'm ready to put a bullet through my head because my dad looks like he's ready to punch a hole through the wall.
And that should be the greatest theater ever too. Like, I mean, a slow motion messenger that misses, you know what I mean? Like, I swear, like that, they could make that such beautiful theater, like a putt lipping out for something. I mean, there's so much riding on it too. For like, what didn't Troy? You said he threw a messenger on his first shot, and I don't know if it's first or second shot, but just
there is the man himself. I was just actually
there is. Butters.
I was just gonna say I was stressed watching Butters bowl after he was on our show. Like I was like super glued to the TV. Like I've met this guy, I know him now, and it's like I was more invested in actually watching him bowl, and it was super stressful for me. But what up, Butters? Welcome to the show.
Again,
but no, but finish what you were saying, Och.
Well, no, but I just could, because that's something that could be the story. I'm all about the story. I'm all about the theater, the drama, like the messenger that doesn't clip out the 10 or the 7. I mean, it's like that's poetry. It's fucking beautiful, and there's got to be a way to capitalize on something like that. I'm diving deep. Don't get me wrong.
No, you're right. I like it.
No,
but like we see it so often in frame 7 of game 2. That doesn't mean shit, but there's so many times where, like you said, like he needed this hit, or a matter of fact, I think against Butters, didn't EJ need a hit? And I don't know if he just left maybe a weak 10, not as much poetry in it. Don't get me wrong. In the one that he won, I'm drawing back because I'm my memory is wicked awesome, but the theater, the drama, the story, I'm stuck on it. I'm totally stuck on it because that's what gets people invested. We all know this. We're not stupid. When Tino hit that home run against Byung-Young Kim in the 2001 World Series to tie the game with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, and then Scott Brocious did it again. The theater, the drama. The Yankees had scored only like 4 runs the entire World Series. That's still talked about. All right, I'm getting on a rant here.
No, you're totally right, and we've actually got a ton of good comments coming in because of what you're saying. But the thing about it is, Och, is what you just mentioned about Tino. You have to be emotionally invested in athletics to even understand what the hell you're talking about right now. Like, I'll give you a prime example, just based off what happened yesterday, because I'll feed right into my bed with this one, if you're okay with that, Rob. Watching the what's up, Dutch? Lancers all the way, baby. Watching the Golden Knights last night against the Panthers. And I'm kind of walking Rochelle's daughter through the game, telling her, like, what's happening with the team.
I was pulling for Florida, by the way, too, FYI.
Yeah, good. It's visibly obvious the Panthers are drained, the home field advantage. What does SOG mean? Like, all this stuff. We're going over the entire hockey game. And at the end of the game, they're showing the watch party from outside the arena, and then I'm saying, they're laughing, do you realize the nightmare it's going to be for the people that are actually in the fortress to get out and get home after this game is over? Because then they got to get through T-Mobile Arena and the parking lot in Vegas after Vegas just won its first ever Big Four championship in the history of this city, right?
Yep.
And Rochelle, not a huge sports advocate or fan, starts giggling when the guys start picking up the Stanley Cup and kissing it. Because at the end of the game, somebody who is not emotionally attached to athletics says, look at these guys, one of the most macho sports there is, and the biggest prize possession at the end is fucking jewelry, or they're making out with a fucking ornament, like, and that's the way most people see it. that aren't emotionally invested in athletics. So when most people watch a messenger go in front of a 10-pin like Troy did, most people are sitting there saying, oh man, that was so close. That was so cool. Can I see it again? But they're not invested in the fact that if that pin hits it and then he wins the next game, this is the culmination of his entire
it's a butterfly effect. Like you
lifetime
future.
worth of work. Who's to know if I'm ever going to be in this position again kind of work. It's the same mentality for somebody who goes and works for 4 years to go run the 200 meters in the Olympics and trips over the third hurdle. It
Pops
has
a hamstring, something like that.
They fall to the ground, and no, not even that. They fall to the ground crying because they worked for 4 years to be a tenth of a second better than the next best guy in the world. They put forth every ounce of them that they had into being a tenth of a second better, and they trip. They make a mistake in the one chance that they have to make that glorified execution of all of their hard work in one moment. That's the kind of shit, like you said, Oach, that Bo and Schenkel used to bring to the telecast. They used to make you emotionally invested in what was happening, the same way sports announcers do in baseball, the same way announcers do in golf.
They got to bring you up to speed, or else you're just watching guys playing a sport. When they don't bring up to speed, then you're not invested. And that was the whole thing of it too. And man, like,
do you know why I bought a Sham Wow when those infomercials came out? Because I was fucking sold on the guy selling.
Oh yeah.
Before or after he beat up his chick? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I'm talking about the one.
I get it. Like this is you.
But I bought it because he made the ShamWow look exciting.
Just like
if there was a picture of a freaking chamois on a TV, you'd have been like, "Well, what's this for? This is stupid. Yeah. I'll go to Pep Boys and get one." 100%. But instead, you had this guy freaking.
Or the Ginsu knives, man. It would cut through fucking soda cans and shit and chop a goddamn pineapple. It's like,
dude, we still know the freaking tagline: "The Ginsu, it'll cut, it'll dice, it'll slice, it'll lick your." Yeah. Whatever. They won't. Yes. I bought them. They don't do that.
Jeff and John have a good point. The Stanley Cup is the holy grail of all sports, and it's the hardest championship to win, hands down. Dude, I love all sports. Basketball I actually got into this year because the Celtics are in, but I mean,
Larry Bird, baby.
Baseball, I love the playoffs because usually it's a pitcher's duel and it's pretty fucking intense. But there is no sport, not even football, that's more intense than hockey when it comes to its a 7-game series. And just the intensity and the hard hits, and just on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Well, and JP was right. Florida was drained too, because Florida comes by, they knock out. I'm sorry, the Bruins. Then they set a record for
to be halfway there, let alone
I mean that should have been
physically tired. They looked physically tired on the ice after they were down 2-1 and then 3-1. When it was 3-1, I said to Derek, I said, this game's over. I said the Panthers can't get the 2, let alone 3.
The fact that they got past Carolina was shocking, because they got past the two freaking hottest teams in the league, Toronto and Boston set a record for wins. Toronto was red hot. Actually, I hate to say it, but the Rangers were also red hot coming in. So was Vegas, clearly. And then
the Devils weren't either. So I mean,
and so here they had like 3 Stanley Cups already. Florida did. So by the time they got to Vegas, they were. And even still, that story should be told, because now it just looks like a 4-1 series where they got whitewashed, and they truly did.
And they fucking earned their way there.
But they were the lowest seed, and they freaking which is odd nowadays too. Anyways,
it is odd, but no, it's my bad is Cassidy. I'm happy that he won.
When you're done, remember I wanted
to feed into his man. Remember,
yeah.
Fucking
but you go ahead. I won't forget it this time.
I'm happy that Cassidy won a cup. He's a New Hampshire boy. I mean, he's a New Englander. But the fact that he left the Bruins and went to Vegas and won a cup just really fucking kind of hurts a little bit. But yeah, that's my bad.
Okay. I have 2 bads, and they both have to do with the Stanley Cup. Even though I am a Golden Knights fan, I've said this before.
Diehard, man, since you were born.
I was not a basketball fan until I went to college in Youngstown, Ohio, and the Cavs drafted LeBron, and I got into basketball because watching LeBron was awesome, especially at that age. It was awesome to watch. So whether you like him or not. I got into hockey because it is the one thing that tied this city together to some extent. Just like any other major city, big city teams, especially when they're good, they bring communities a little bit more together. And going to the Fortress or being anywhere around Golden Knights fans out here is flat out awesome. We don't bitch and complain. They don't bitch and complain about other teams. There's no feuds and all this other garbage. People out here are genuine Knights
How cool
fans
is that, by the
because
way?
they're-
Like, think about
It
that. Like, a
is.
sports franchise brings commerce, economy. It brings camaraderie almost. Like,
Yeah,
you
of
might
course.
meet someone at a game that
It brings something that you have a complete agreement with
100%.
on. All disagree with probably everything else in your walk of life with, and nobody fucking
And
cares.
I've said
They
this
just
so many times.
love to
And
agree.
it gives you those moments, those goosebump moments. And if you haven't watched sports, you're so missing out on those freaking moments. But
Right.
go ahead.
Yes, yeah.
Anecdotal.
Here's my bad, only because I'm watching the clock
Yeah.
and I got about 7
Go for
minutes. My bad is this. Number one, at the end, when everybody was picking up the cup and all this other shit, I love that all the players get to skate around the ice and hoist the cup and kiss it. I don't think it's necessary to film the public relations guys and the office guys in their suits. Quite frankly, when they're lifting up the cup, I'm hoping they fall out of camera at some point because I think it would be funny if they slipped. And second of all, I don't ever see the PBA tour reps or the sponsors of the bowlers going out there and lifting up the tournament.
How come
champions
Butch
trophy when
Harmon
the
doesn't
bowler
grab the
wins.
Wanamaker when
Right. I don't see
And
Tiger's
Katie's
caddy
over there.
picking up the yeah.
Dude,
So I
so
don't
good.
like that we had to watch those guys pick it
So
up.
good. Oh my God, such a
And
good
the other
point.
thing is social media. And here it is. Here's my ugly. I've obviously the Facebook scroll got swarmed by Knight's post the second it was over. I got memes, I got celebratory things, I got this, I got that. And I found approximately 50 people in my scroll that wrote in all capital letters, "We did it. We finally did it. We finally brought home a champion. The cup is ours. Finally. Go Knights." All my Vegas friends that are Knights fans.
That must have been an awful 6 years, man. Wow.
Horrible.
I'm a
Just
Mets fan.
How did you
horrible.
suffer?
I'm a Mets fan.
Fuck.
I was 2 years old when they won their last championship in 1986. If they win the series this year, I'm not going to write
Shit, I was
the Mets
12.
finally won it. Rob's a Red Sox fan.
86 year.
And
Lost
86 years
lost
it
when you
was?
were 2, by the way.
Yeah,
with
they
2
lost
outs in the
in-
you
top of the
have
ninth.
you had the right to write finally in your Facebook
Yeah,
post.
my grandfather never
All my
lived to
Cubs
see
fans out there, you are more than happily welcome to put finally. But Vegas fans, if you write finally got it, and we've been a franchise for 6 fucking years, just delete your post, man. You look like an idiot. You guys are the worst.
You went to the finals
You
under
guys
Gerard
are
Gallant
the
in your
worst.
inaugural season, something that has never
In your-
been done. This is the most spoiled franchise
I
ever.
love how
They
you
missed
built
the
them up in
playoffs.
your bad. You're
Look,
like, oh, our fans are so great. They just fucking love hockey.
They are
dude,
great.
No, but they missed.
And I'm
they
only
missed the-
speaking for a certain
totally no.
percentage, and you know who you are.
0.01%.
And not to mention, you didn't write they finally
We.
did it. You wrote
We.
we finally did it. Like, were you one of the guys in the PR suits hoisting the cup? Like, or are you just a loyal fan? You didn't do anything, and it's not finally.
I mean, when you
It's,
say loyal, that's kind of
what an
relative.
awesome accomplishment to only be a team for 6 years and already have a Stanley Cup and an inaugural season runner-up. You don't write finally.
They've only missed the playoffs one time, and it was last year. you
Right.
know when you say
Exactly.
a diehard fan, it's like
Horrible.
like what did they do before 2017? I mean, shit. I'm such a diehard
Anyway.
fan. I live in. Yeah, I get it. You have a lonely 30 years prior to
Yeah,
when Vegas came in, but
But
it is funny just to poke on it like that. No, they're spoiled and they don't get it, and good for them. Good for them because you know the poor freaking Maple Leafs haven't sniffed a cup, and they're one of the most storied franchises in ever.
by the way, speaking of Golden Knights, if you guys are hockey fans or Golden Knights fans, listen to Locked On Golden Knights podcast. One of the hosts, I made the Imbecile of the Week a couple of months ago, and they kind of gave us a retort on their show on a Friday show.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was
It was
funny.
well deserved because you screwed up the math, and Johnny and I
did.
freaking saved the day. And the
I
guy even
completely-
said, like, and his other 2 cronies were like, "Hey, you screwed it up."
Yeah, I got owned on that one, but yeah, it's a cool show, and hopefully somebody will
Freaking
reach.
math.
What are the odds though that like that dude just happened to find out that we were fucking with him on our show, and then they
What are the odds that anybody was listening?
Well, I mean, just in a different sport, like a hockey podcast talking about a bowling podcast. It was just weird. Like it was pretty funny.
Well, he does other stuff too, I think, right? Or I mean, I know he's like a Golden Knights thing, but like I thought there was something other. I don't know. He's coming over for dinner tomorrow. I'll find out.
Excellent.
But you're right. It must have been a torturous 6 years for those poor Vegas Knights.
How did they do that?
Finally get a cup after clawing so hard.
Finally, after 6 hard years, man.
It's just
good for them. When they put in the work, it was well worth it.
They've been good since the draft, since the initial expansion draft.
Like any expansion team comes out, they lose freaking 48. What am I saying? They lose about 60 games of the 82 game season.
True.
They come out.
The Sharks sucked early on. The Panthers, the Lightning,
the Kraken sucked last year.
Atlanta,
so they kind of like they thought like, okay, well, here's a new trend. Nope, Kraken made the playoffs this year though, so I guess it's not as long.
By the way,
yeah,
I got my pick. I saw Chris's picks, but I got my pick for the women's USA.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Stephanie Johnson.
Okay, very good.
I'm gonna pick Stephanie Johnson.
Ocho, who you got?
Stephanie Johnson. Did you combine two people? Like, did you combine someone named Stephanie and a last name Johnson?
The other Johnson.
No, I combined Stephanie Nation
and Liz Johnson. There you go.
No, I converted Stephanie Nation into her now wed name of Stephanie Johnson.
Well, I'm picking Liz Johnson, the other Johnson. So there you go. Okay. All right, Johnny. I know you got to go here in a minute. Anything else as we wrap up?
I do. No, good show. And as much as the congratulations go out to JJ, Jordan so far in a successful season, the real hero of today's show was Troy Lynn. Troy, congrats again on your third place finish at the Senior Masters. And not only looking for you to bump out that first major soon, but also looking for you to be a soon-to-be player of the year out there on the Senior Tour. So keep it up, my friend. I like Stephanie's pick. I like Jordan, too. Hard to get off that train.
All right, Rob. Jesus, what the fuck? What is he doing? Is he frozen?
I think he's trying to
do the frozen. See what it's
I couldn't breathe. I had to.
No kidding.
All right, guys, that wraps up for this show. Thanks everybody for hanging out here.
Thanks, Domino's.
Thank you, Domino's.
You can't be the one that freezes when you're the host of the show. Oh my God.
I tried to get you. Thank you guys for showing up tonight.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
You.